US tariffs will have a significant impact on Asia-Pacific economies, so say the Asian Development Bank in its latest outlook. The first half of 2025 saw a surge in trade before most of the tariffs came into effect. But regional growth expectations are now being revised down from earlier predictions, 4.8% for this year, down from 4.9%, and 4.5% for 2026. That's down from 4.7%, so down just 0.2%. India's 2026 growth forecast has been cut by 0.3% as it contends with steep US tariffs of 50%. But the bank's forecast for China remains steady, remains the same, with policy support and export diversification expected to cushion tariff challenges. The report concludes that the unresolved US-China trade talks, potential duties on semiconductor and pharmaceuticals could have a negative rippling impact across the region. Matteo Lanzafame is a principal economist at the Asian Development Bank.
So this year, the outlook has really been shaped mostly by external factors. This includes the increase in tariffs, but also the increase in trade policy uncertainty. And both of these factors, we see them as denting growth and economic activity in the region. On the other hand, we have some positive news coming from the policy side. So both fiscal support is helping the economies in the region to continue grow. And at the same time, because inflation is coming down, there is more policy space for central banks to reduce interest rates and again support activity, in particular investment and consumption. So overall, even if the external environment has worsened significantly, growth in the region continues to remain resilient. And we expect it to be the case next year as well.
The tourist numbers are interesting, aren't they? How much of a growth driver is that in the region?
It is very important for several economies, in particular for the island economies in the Pacific, but also for some economies in Southeast Asia, like Thailand. If we look at the trends, we see that the recovery from the pandemic is, on average, nearly completed throughout the region. So arrivals are more or less back at the same level as they were on average in 2018, 2019. However, there is a certain heterogeneity across the different economies. And so in some cases, in particular in Thailand that I was mentioning before, in other economies which are more dependent on the arrival of Chinese tourists, tourism has not yet recovered completely.
A number of assumptions were made in this report, weren't they, such as the price of oil, interest rates and currency exchange rates remaining pretty much constant. What would really change your short to medium-term outlook?
Oh, there are a number of risks, and obviously our projections are subject to, potentially deviations depending on what happens going forward and the new data that come in. In general, what we think are the main risks to the outlook are still related to trade, both uncertainty and both and the probability or the likelihood that a new escalation of tariffs could come in, for example, related to new sectoral tariffs. We just seen a few days ago that new U.S. tariffs are going to be implemented on imports of pharmaceuticals, but there is also a risk that semiconductors, for example, which are very important for some of the economies in the region, could be subject to tariffs as well. And there are obviously other risks related to geopolitical conflicts, the possibility of, financial market corrections, and also the property market adjustment that we are seeing in the PRC, which is still ongoing.